And hello and welcome to another chocolate covered gaming. We are here today to give you our first candy corner, which is where we, and that is me, Hershey, one of your wonderful hosts, and the oh so wonderful whatchamacallit, I don't know what to say today. Uh Chris. How you doing, Chris?
I mean, I can't quite place it,
I just don't
It's
know.
that feeling, that whatchama feeling.
Yeah, I just don't know what to call it. So we're gonna have to just stick with whatchamacallit today. I'm sorry, Chris. I'll give you a real candy next time.
On Dragon Ball Z.
Bum bum bum. So
All right, see you next week.
yes, we will now release only in 1 minute segments. Please click every single segment to
Take
hear the
that,
full
Telltale.
podcast.
We're done with this season pass stuff.
Okay. Don't say that, they're gone. They failed miserably.
I mean, okay. I mean, I don't think they failed. They just ran out of steam.
Okay, well, to be fair,
And then
we
they
thought
got
they were doing
kicked off
great.
Steam.
Yeah, we thought they were doing great, and then they turned out they were hemorrhaging money.
Huh, sounds familiar. I'm looking at you, Netflix.
Fuck. Calling them out with that new Disney competition. Too bad we're not doing that kind of commentary.
No.
So, if you are actually aware of what this podcast is about, this is Chocolate Cover Gaming, where we talk about usually homebrews, where me and Chris over here work together to make a homebrew of some kind in an hour. However, this is the third episode, and if you actually listen to 1 and 2, the third episode, or every third episode, we do what will be called the Candy Corner, where we talk about something that will help you and ourselves run a game better. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about something I hold very near and dear to my heart: traps, riddles, and puzzles. All those wonderful little things you and your players hate to run into in any tabletop RPG.
Unless they're, a pure, puzzle duo, puzzle league. Just a bunch of
Yes.
people playing Sudoku.
Yeah, just play Tetris at that point. Play Tetris 99. You'll have more fun. But
It's a battle royale, but, from the 80s.
it's Tetris with a vengeance.
Where
So
are we dropping, boys?
Tilted Towers has a whole new meaning.
Yeah, it's when you're throwing in the vertical block and it goes in horizontally, and now it messes up your entire rotation.
You fucked up everything, okay? Oh, and look, you put a T on top of it too. Go fuck yourself. You know who I'm talking. Look, you know who I'm talking about, and you know who you are.
You hear that, Craig? He's telling you that you know what he's talking about.
Damn it, you beat me to it. You saw where the buildup was going. So,
sorry, Craig's the guy who handles the audio.
Beautifully. So, we are talking about traps, riddles, and puzzles, or as I prefer to call them because of Hey Riddle Riddle, an amazing podcast, traps, riddies, and puzzies. We're going to be talking about that in general.
All right, where are we starting?
Well,
where are we dropping, boy?
Okay, we already made that joke.
I know. It was a bit more appropriate here, though.
Hasn't even been 2 minutes. Chill. Goddamn Fortnite poser. Have you even played Fortnite, Chris? Or should I say whatchamacallit?
No, actually, no.
Me neither, so we have no right to say anything. So, I think the first thing to talk about, obviously, in a thing about, interactive segments like traps, riddles, and puzzles, is talking about traps. And I feel like
Star Wars reference. You're welcome. Thank you.
No. just that's our title, isn't it? Knowing you. That's going to be our...
Okay, listen, saying it's a trap is too easy.
Fucking...
It's literally the...
No, I meant
low-hanging fruit.
I meant insert Star Wars reference is going to be the title, isn't it?
Probably.
I hate you. So, we now... Fucking hell, I swear to God, if it is. So...
Traps, yes.
Traps. And there's a lot of things I can say about the beauty of traps and all the good things. First things first, thing I gotta say that you should never do. Just never do with a trap. Never make a goddamn zap trap.
What's a zap trap?
Thank you for
Like,
asking.
genuinely, what's a zap trap?
No, yeah. And thank you for asking, random stranger who is inside my apartment. Get the fuck out. So,
Oh.
I love you too. So, a zap trap is a type of trap that goes by a lot of different names, but basically it's a trap that's unavoidable. Once it's been triggered, something negative will happen no matter what the player does, rolls, or anything else.
What if I succeed on my save, though?
Half damage at best. Basically,
What?
it's like imagine you're walking through a evil laboratory, you know, by some kind of like electronics rig, something like a Tesla, you know what I mean? And you accidentally step on a
Elon Musk, you bastard.
god dang it. And you step on a wire, you know, and the thing starts to short circuit and go crazy. And you get struck by lightning and you have to do a dex save. Say it does like, you know, something like
Right.
2d6 damage. Even if you succeeded, you would still take 1d6 damage, you know, half damage. Basically, zap traps are things along the lines of like actual spells, you know, except they just whittle down the party for no reason but, oh, hey, shit, the party seems pretty strong. I kind of need them to feel that tension. And the way I can make them feel that.
So, down with the HP. Down with the bourgeoisie.
Damn right. If I want them to feel that nice tension in that boss fight, I gotta really whittle them thin. And how can I do that? Just by swinging the band hammer on their HP pools.
Take that, barbarian. Where's your rage now?
Basically, and it's shit. It just doesn't feel good because it just feels like you did what you exactly did. You just slapped a player for playing the game.
And see, the worst part is they will come around and they will turtle through your dungeon. And now you're the one who's getting hit with the banhammer. But it's the counterforce banhammer of we're just going to walk really slowly so that a trap can't possibly hit us.
Yeah, basically also it just starts the arm race problem that every game has when the DM tries to super hyper galaxy brain outthink the players.
It's like, nah, just don't.
Just be chill, man. Just be chill. Look, Jim, you're a great DM, and no one at your table's saying otherwise, okay? But Jim, you gotta chill with the zap traps, bruh.
But
you gotta chill with the zap traps.
But those are the only traps, though. They take HP. What kind of a trap can I even make, though? If I can't make a zap trap.
Well, once again, whatchamacallit, you can honestly make a variety of traps. And one of my favorite types of traps is traps that just both give, like, honestly, yes, traps should take away resources. That's kind of the point. But they should aid.
But HP isn't the only resources, I think what you're saying, Hirsch.
Exactly. And also they should be avoidable too. I really love using traps to kind of flesh out an area, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love traps to like kind of give the world life. Because let's be fair, disasters around every turn. You know, if you're going to a kobold cave, you know, kobolds will probably have some traps in there, you know? But it's not going to be something along the lines of a Tesla coil. It may be something along the lines of a tripwire, you know?
Because their small, meaty bodies are not built for hand-to-hand combat. They got to be sneaky little bastards.
Exactly. You can use traps to build the world around you, and some awesome effects traps can be anything from resource, you know, dwindling, like HP or abilities, or even magic if players try to avoid it outright, you know? You can also, you know, awareness is a real big consequence of traps. And a simple alarm is one of the most dangerous traps players can face because it's just straight up like, hey, as long as we have the element surprise, we can get a decent amount of damage in before anyone even notices. Ring a ding ding da ding da dong. Ring a dong ding ding. Fuck. There's a tripwire right there, and I stepped on it.
And see, even that alarm can be twofold because not only does it tell the fictional monsters in the fictional world that the fictional adventurers are coming to whip their fictional asses, it also calls attention to your players. You know, maybe some of them, they start doodling or, you know, their minds are, you know, going elsewhere. They're thinking about that movie that they just saw, right? And it can call them right back into the action. It's like, oh, something's happening. We need to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, one thing I think is really important too is, again, I feel like one thing people really take for granted with traps is how real they can make a place feel, you know? Like, when people live somewhere, they're going to get security. And that's what traps are, just simple security. So one thing I always tell people when they're making dungeons and traps and stuff is who the fuck lives there? And if people do live there, how do they circumvent all these traps? Because let's be fair, yeah.
Oh
yeah, no, go. No, no.
Pedicate.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry that your sentence was in the middle of mine,
I know.
Piece of shit.
Continue, and then I will jump in.
We're gonna have to leave all that in, aren't we?
Probably.
Fucking God.
This is how we solve conflict, everyone.
Yeah, we just become the seagulls for Finding Nemo.
Mine.
Okay.
Finish your thought.
If I can find it. So it's a really good way to like kind of make the place feel real. Cobalt, like if two examples I would give is like, if you're in an ancient dungeon or tomb, no one gives a shit about people going through there because they're not supposed to be, period. So that's when you'll get, the stuff like, death traps that are just meant to maim anyone who goes through, or like, really complex puzzles that are supposed to test the worthy. If you're going through a kobold cave, it's going to be like tripwires and maybe some falling rocks that, people who know that they're there can just easily avoid, but people who don't are going to face them and, possibly alert the people who live there.
Yeah. Every place, every location is not just Indiana Jones Temple 24/7.
Oh, if only they could be.
Oh man, that'd be both terrifying and fun if you know that you're getting into that. But by choosing when places are just living death traps that no one's supposed to go into, and knowing when to make it, well, someone lives here, but so they can be minor death traps. Even that can help everything feel just different and not so samey when it's like, oh yeah, another pitfall. Really?
No, yeah, exactly. Traps have to be unique, but also, the fact that you can use a trap to really make your players feel like the world's alive, because it's just like, oh shit, they're trying to protect something. They have thought. They think. Kobold think, huh? It kind of adds that layer of, suspended disbelief and realism to what is essentially make-believe.
Because they might not think a lot, but kobolds know at least enough to not drop rocks on each other.
Or at least if they make a good story about dropping rocks on each other.
Shout out to Tucker's Kobolds.
Dang straight. So, we've talked a lot about traps.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Should we, jump around to one of the other points?
All right, let's, why don't we go puzzles? Puzzles sound fun.
Puzzies. Oh boy, puzzies. Now, the thing for me with puzzies and riddies in general, and traps too, is I take an approach to kind of mix them together into this like batch of death and destruction.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they have their uses.
For me, puzzies are an amazing way to kind of like, give a test or give a hint. Like, for me, riddies and puzzies, if I feel like an area up ahead that I've planned out in my campaign is going to be really intense, I slip in a little hint, in the form of a riddle or a puzzle, and just go like, hey, if my players figure this out or actually take heed of it, they'll have a little benefit. If not, well, shit.
Do you have an example of something like that? Like when, or like at least how you decide whether or not to give them the hint or the, challenge?
Well, okay, so the first thing I did, I was running a campaign for some friends of mine who'd never really played D&D before.
Always fun.
It's honestly usually fun, except when you get the people who just have no clue what they're doing, which is all the time with that kind of thing. But what the thing I found really cool was I designed, like, I was teaching them basically traps exist in this game, So I made a whole shadow temple. Like, the main theme was shadows, and every trap in there and every encounter in there revolved around shadows in some way. Sometimes you had to avoid the shadow. Sometimes you had to use a torch or something to manipulate the shadow. Some, different things for different, rooms. But I was like...
Now I'm filled with the sudden urge to play Wind Waker.
Shh. However, the thing that I really felt like, they're going to experience traps for the first time. It's going to be interesting for them. I left a riddle outside the temple door. And the riddle was something like, hey, what clings to me yet never grows, something like that. You know what I mean?
That's pretty clever, actually.
Basically, the answer was shadow, and if they figured out the riddle, they had an idea going in, so that even though the first trap was something simple, that the whole thing was kind of shadow themed, and it was something I was like, yeah, you know what? That's pretty cool. That's good. That's good.
It foreshadows what's to come, and your particularly insightful players not just insight the skill, but also that actual foresight of people. They will realize, oh, hey, wait, I should pay attention to that because that might be a key mechanic in this my Zelda dungeon that I'm doing.
Oh,
Which is not a bad approach. Zelda dungeons are super fun.
I'm sorry. I just got a major migraine from the pun that occurred. Oh, the pain. Oh God. But
Gotta keep you awake.
You monster. So the main thing. So that's me. Riddles and puzzles, however, to me, and also, well, not really traps. Riddles and puzzles to me always enter a very weird place in D&D, and it's a thing I've talked to a lot of players about and a lot of DMs too. And it's that kind of question of my 8 intelligence barbarian should have no clue what the answer to this riddle is, but me, the player, has got this shit on lockdown. I know the answer to this riddle, puzzle, riddy, puzzy, or every combination thereof. I know it like the back of my hand. However, if I know it but my character doesn't, should I be able to answer it? Or also the vice versa, I myself have no clue, but my character has like an intelligence of 20 and a wisdom of 20, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's probably heard the answer, or if not, can figure it out. That was when you run into a really weird kind of like paradox, really. What do you think about it?
And
Well, yeah.
yeah, so it's a very strange thing because we always talk about, hey, don't metagame D&D. That's not fun, right? But this isn't really metagaming. This is this is a riddle and puzzle and even sometimes a trap tests you, the player, directly. Puzzles and riddles more so just because it's, hey, let's put down the dice and let you actually figure it out, unless of course they need to know something in lore and history that their character would know even if they don't know. I think if you're allowed to go, well, my character would know this potentially, let me borrow their knowledge, then I don't see why you can't go the other way, right?
Yeah, that's
At least as far as I say.
that's the thing. Personally, when I've been asked this question, I just say it depends on how I'm feeling. Honestly, when I made this, you know what I mean? But most of the time, I just go, yeah, go for it. And if you feel like your character really should know and you want to role play that, all the power to you. But maybe if you want to give hints or something, role play it out. Maybe if you are that that 8 intelligence barbarian and your party's just having trouble at this shadow, riddle I made, maybe just like start screaming at everyone's shadows or something. I don't know. But
Or you can do the Scooby Doo method and be like Shaggy and Scooby and be like, you don't have the answer, but you do some dumb thing. Like you throw an apple core in such a way, it's like, huh, that's weird.
yeah,
As you point in this dark cave that there's a shadow on this apple core.
exactly. Like you can figure it out. And every DM's going to have their own interpretation of how this should be handled. But personally, I believe that if you or your character can figure it out, go for it. Just talk to your DM beforehand if you feel like this is going to be a problem.
Talking in a social game, especially with each other, is the key, solution to many a problem and many a potential problem.
Okay, you know what? I knew what it sounded like when I said it. Okay,
but it's true, and I think that's something that I also kind of want to highlight a bit, is because a lot of people forget that it's like, hey, if there's gonna be a problem, talk.
it's
Like, oh, that with all of the questions I try to answer on Reddit, in particular behind the Dungeon Master screen, which is all about, if you're a new DM and you're like, man, I'm so overwhelmed, that's an amazing community that I fell into, and got a lot of constructive criticism as well as just general someone to bounce ideas off. And now I pay it forward by answering questions there, to give help to people. And where was I going with this? Hirsch, what was I talking about? Sorry.
Talking to
Oh yes,
talking period.
Yeah, that's like the number one thing I see on there is people are like, I have X problem with Y player, and I just don't know what to do. And it's like number one top comment usually is, "Have you tried talking to him?" Reply from the original poster. No,
There you go.
the guy that it's like yeah. So it's amazing, kind of how that it's a simple solution. It's super simple, but it often gets overshadowed.
Often. But
Often.
But yeah, honestly, to me though, I feel like talking is the solution to a lot of things. But in traps, riddies, and puzzies, just talking period between your teammates also to like if you feel like you need to brainstorm the answer, that's also good.
Helps build that team cohesion.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Does this mean we're talking about riddles now?
I guess it does.
So I actually have a bit of an insight in this little part, this little small corner with the small wooden shack that's probably falling over.
Go for it.
That is, and this can also translate to puzzles, but I think it mostly applies to riddles. And that's riddles are hard to make for two reasons. First reason being you can get tempted to bring in riddles from our world. Like the famous, what walks on three legs, then two legs, or no, yeah, it's four legs, then two legs, then three legs. Well, a person, right? And that can be true. And if you want to include it and make that, keep that answer, that can totally be true. But in the world of magics and the dragons and the other things, that more things might apply to that little riddle in particular, and especially other riddles, unless they're very specific in wording. And that can confuse your players, and maybe that's what you want to do, but sometimes it can go a bit far. And that leads into my second point, which is it's really hard to balance a riddle, right? You can't make a riddle super OP, but you can't make it super easy. You might think it's easy, but that's also because you have all the cards in front of you. Players, it's funny how they don't know some things, but they do notice others. And what they choose to take stock in what's important might not be what you do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically,
you were doing good.
Okay.
I was trying to let your wings grow.
I know, but I also didn't want to just completely overshadow you. Like, okay, cool. Thanks for the everything else, Hirsch. I'm just gonna, flex on you and T-pose for dominance as I control the rest of this. And so I think one of the things that you got to kind of go in with, and especially just I think in DMing in general, is go in with maybe a problem, but not so much the solution. So when your players give that really good argument for why they think shadow is the right answer, or even shade might be the right answer, because it still kind of plays with the general idea that you're going for, you're more willing to be like, yeah, that's it. That makes sense. Yeah, you're getting the idea. Right? Because otherwise, and trust me, I've had it where I've been in multiple sessions where the easy puzzle took up most of the session because we either over or under thought it.
Honestly, yeah. I've run into that problem myself where a friend of mine in a campaign I play in, he made a great puzzle that was a variety of like unique words, corresponding to different hints.
Mm-hmm.
That we were all like overcomplicating and trying to figure out. And then it turned out that all these unique words, if pressed in a certain order, if you pressed four of them, it just said open. And we sat there for 4 hours going, this has got to be the solution. And then it turned out it was open. And we all just gave up for the night because we were like, oh.
See, me
no.
being the person that likes playing word scramble, I'd just punch in nope and leave.
Honestly. It's just, oh God, why?
So yeah, see, he thought that was probably really easy to do, right? It's like, hey, notice, look, the letters form open, right? And it didn't turn out that way. And that's the hard part when you got to kind of toe the line. And that's why I think I love Legend of Zelda, and I mentioned it. I love Legend of Zelda, and I mentioned it earlier, but the way that their puzzles are typically structured, they're very straightforward. Hey, get across the ledge. Hey, open the door that's, covered in a dangerous vine that regrows whenever you try to cut the vine. Right? Like, it's very straightforward, and it's hard to get very confused with those because, like, well, okay, there's got to be something in here that we can use to mess with and solve the puzzle. Still a puzzle. It's just not a wordy word puzzle, right? There's a lot less room for error. Of course, there's also on the flip side a lot more other room for error.
Yeah.
When you do more environmental.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of room for error with traps, riddles, and puzzles, which is why a lot of people argue they're just not worth having in your game, period, in most cases.
But when done well,
they add a lot of flavor. A lot of it.
Like one trap that like I was told of, and I'm like, that's genius because it really plays with standard, RPG conventions. Was so you're in like a not a narrow hallway, but you're pretty good like underground hall, and up ahead you see a pit, right? And you're like, oh, okay, so it's a pit. If I fall down it, spikes, dead. Duh, right? And then of course there's the other side with the hallway that continues forward.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about this pit is there's also another, opening up into the ceiling, right? And you're like, oh, that's strange, but okay. I can dig it, I guess. So, you'll try to get across, and eventually you fall. And you fall, and you're like, all right, well, this is how I die. Time to start getting those D6s ready for a new character. And then you stop falling before you hit the ground. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You're floating now. And now you start floating up. And you're like, oh, wait, am I going back? Oh, wow, that wasn't such an evil trap after all. And eventually you get back to the, little area that you were in, but you keep going upward, up the opening in the ceiling. You're like, huh, wait, if this leads up, maybe this is how I can, skip a lot of the dungeon, so to speak. And this is something my DM put in that if we were ever, messed up, we actually would make super duper progress. And so you keep going, and then you hear, oh no, what's that? Meat grinder? Why is there a meat? Oh, I'm flying up into a meat grinder. The trap isn't on the bottom on the fall. It's on the rise. I've got to learn how to fall again. Right?
Yep.
And it plays with your perceptions. And I think if you follow that baseline of playing with your general conventions and playing with what you think, oh yeah, this is what, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to fall down the thing and die. Not, I'm going to fall up and die. I think that is a good general baseline to work with when it comes to working with any of these three things. Because I'm going to take the hard stance and say that a lot of these three things, in a lot of ways, are very similar, but are unique in very specific instances.
Yeah. Also, honestly, traps can add a lot of fun stories. I've had half my party die to a single trap because they just couldn't figure it the fuck out. They just all died horribly to a single fire trap.
Please don't tell me it was like something like a dart trap and the barbarian's just standing in front of the hole. Like, I don't get it. As he hits the pressure plate and gets into the dart in the body.
Close, but way worse because it was three of them. A fire trap that dealt like 4d10 damage. And they kept pressing the button.
Guesstimate for me, Hirsch. How many times did they press the button?
More than you thought possible.
Like they didn't ever hit the point where it's like, okay, every time we hit this button, the fire goes off. Maybe we shouldn't press the button anymore.
Well, here's the thing. They had to get past it, and it was like a layer of tiles that had different symbols on them.
So they're just making wrong steps left and right. Just getting a nice little, like kind of like those little like water fountains, like big public areas where they shoot the water out and it dances.
Except when you make a mistake, the entire floor gets fucked. Yeah, so when the first one fell, they were like, okay, now we got to call our losses. But they tried picking him up, and then I had to do strength checks. And then it basically went multiple times. Oh no, they dropped him, re-triggered the trap, picked him up, dropped again, fuck. Finally started climbing out. But, he failed it right as he got to the top, so he had to throw one behind him. He threw the guy he was carrying because he said, fuck it, I'm going to live.
I have a question. Did you?
But that triggered the trap, and he got toasted as well.
I must ask. At what point did you decide to put on the Benny Hill theme, if at all?
Oh, God. Before that one, there was an axe trap, and they, all lost half their HP.
Why did they lose half their HP to an axe trap?
Because they tried to figure out the mechanic and couldn't.
So they're just, getting chopped and they're like, huh, interesting kinetic ability. Press again. Interesting.
Basically.
Force.
Basically, because these traps were from a temple in Tomb of Annihilation, a hardcover module made by Wizards of the Coast, the guys who make D&D currently.
Yes, so it's official.
And this temple, I won't say what, but had a very unique mechanic you had to use.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that unique mechanic, all the traps were very brutal.
Ooh,
most of them were honestly zap traps. But if you knew and used this unique mechanic, which is honestly very hard to figure out,
you can tell me after the thing because I'm generally curious.
You would figure it out.
Yeah.
I think in the book, for anyone who just doesn't care and wants to look it up, if you're playing in it though, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
I think it was the Temple of the Man and the Crocodile or something along those lines. It's been a year now, but it was something like that. So
you must be the crocodile. Please don't tell me that's it.
No.
Okay, good.
But you're closer than you think.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got the natural intuition.
So, yeah, that, I think, oh, God. That's really all I got to say about traps and puzzles. They can either be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And honestly, a lot of the time, they're in between.
Yeah, so I think really, just like with anything in DMing, I think the best way to approach these is giving it a good deal of thought. Really thinking about okay, now what if that easy puzzle becomes a lot harder? Then what's my backup? Right. What's my fail safe? And just putting in that extra time, the extra effort, not only to make them feel more immersive, but also to not just be completely party murdering. Unless your party needs that. If you think your party needs that, then yeah, murder them with something easy. But
yeah, let them learn the hard way. But don't be cruel. I only was cruel because it was eventually, and you're semi-supposed to be cruel.
I mean, okay, Hirsch. I mean, I've been with you when we've homebrewed traps together. We've made that dungeon. And you're not as cruel as you think you are. You actually legitimately think, hey, maybe I shouldn't just make this a death room.
Okay, thank you for, the cover, but also, death traps are cool and killing people in unique and interesting ways is awesome.
What Hirsch is saying is, in his past life, he was a Bond villain.
You know what? Okay, look. Who cares if I have a white cat on my lap as we speak and I'm stroking it methodically? Who cares, And Sean Connery is the best Bond. Don't at me.
I don't think anyone's going to throw hands at them. At least I don't think. So.
You'll see. Someone will.
Someone will. And hey, if you want to throw hands at Hirsch, tell him why Bond isn't the best one, you can email us at chocolatecoveredgamemail@gmail.com. That's chocolatecoveredgamemail@gmail.com. Or alternatively, you can leave a YouTube comment on the video if you are watching this on the YouTubes. Alternatively, if you are listening to this on Cloud and you wish to comment there, I believe they have a system. Oh no, I just post there, man. But you can find us on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/2019-6097. That is SoundCloud /2019-6097. And that was a good candy corner, I would say.
I think, yeah, for our first,
First,
First, yeah, don't audio file totally didn't get corrupted.
Yeah, the audio file didn't totally die, and you should really expect this level of quality from now on, always,
and forevermore.
Exactly.
So, in the end, this was the Candy Corner of Chocolate Cover Gaming. Joining me today is the whatchamacallit Chris, as always, and me, Hershey, because why wouldn't I be here if I'm the one talking? And yeah, that's all we got, and I'm just sorry.
I am sorry as well.
Thanks for joining us.